numbers say that every kid, black kid in this country, 18 years old and under, I'm sorry, not every, but 20% of every black kid in this country, 18 and under, lives in a household that is below the poverty level. Numbers speak, and when numbers speak, we ought to listen. Lyndon Johnson declared war on poverty. And that, unfortunately, has transformed itself into war on the poor. And I'm sorry I took all that time, but the economic condition of the black in this country is an irritating factor. And God knows it's difficult for me to explain how irritated I really was during the first Obama inauguration, when they were putting bikes and cameras in the presence of all the prominent blacks, who, as if coached, when asked, would say, the election of Obama is the culmination of the dream of Martin Luther King. And if we have the audacity to even think that, then we've got problems that are not going to be solved in Charles Seay's lifetime, even though I have devoted over 50 years in trying to resolve those issues.
We're going to take one more question before we wrap up and take that. Oh.
I'd like to mention a couple of things. One is that the act also was a great liberation and support for women. Many people do not recognize that the role of a woman in our society was secondary. And this gave an opportunity for women to become lawyers, for law school, to become firemen, to become whatever they wanted to become. And I think that we ought to give some recognition to that as well. And finally, I'd like to mention a few names of some very good friends of mine whom you perhaps would know. Jesse Cook, Clinton Elmore, and Dr. Emmett Smiley. We were all great friends and great bridge players and traveled all over. One of the things that we would do is to drive up to a filling station and ask them if they had restrooms. Yeah. If they did, they got a tank full of gas. If they said, no, we don't have, then we'd have to go to the next stop. Just thought you'd like to know that.
Okay. I think you want to go. Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, that's one thing. I do want to, we have one observation to make and appeal, and we're going to allow that to happen, but I do want to formally thank our panelists. I think you brought the context and texture to this conversation that provides some insight into what it was like living through that period and adjusting to, looking forward to, and then dealing with the passage of the act and its aftermath and those intended and unintended consequences. And 50 years later, our ability now to assess the act and analyze the act in a very sober way. Let's let Dr. Atty.
I think sort of apropos of what we've heard today, I'm part of an editorial team that represents Strong from Alabama State University, Landmarks Foundation, and One Montgomery. We're working together to develop a book on Alabama stories over 200 years, and we want to get this done for the city's 200th anniversary in 2019. And what we're seeking is 500-word stories of your experiences. They don't have to be related to civil rights, but I imagine a lot will be, but just experiences that you have had as a Montgomery citizen. And we will divide those into two groups. Those will be people who were born and raised here, and there will be others for people who are from afar. We call that a far group. I'm not a Montgomery native, but I have adopted Montgomery. So we're looking for those. I have some sheets that I will give you. You can look at those. It has more information on how you can do your stories. We've all got these stories that we wanted to tell. There'll be a book, and there'll be a web page for those that don't get in the book. Now, you've all said that you're going to write that story of your life. You're going to write your experiences. This is the way of getting started with this 500-word abstract, and you can develop it into your own book. And I'll have these after this program.
Thank you. We have one last question. Mr. Steve.
It's not exactly a question, but at the height of the civil rights movement, when we tried to register to vote, I was one of those, along with John Doe, who became the acting Attorney General after the assassination of Robert Kennedy, was my lawyer here in Montgomery. I had the federal agents to come to my house to talk with me about a subpoena to appear before Judge Johnson. Following the federal agents, the Alabama Bureau of Investigation was following them. And they came, and they knocked on the door. They said, "What did they want?" I said, "Just my name and age." And they said, "Well, look, if they come back bothering you, you let us know." But at that time, the federal agents told me that John Doe, who was in Montgomery at that time, wanted to talk with me, said that he had found out that I had tried to register to vote in Montgomery, and it was my signature that caught his attention. And he wanted a witness to appear before Judge Johnson. And of course he said that, "I'm asking you to come down and talk with me, but I have a means of getting you down there by subpoenaing you." I said, "I'll come." And we spent, this was the night before his hearing before Judge Johnson, that we spent half the night at the federal courthouse preparing for his presentation the next day. And of course we appeared before Judge Johnson. And I guess the rest of the black citizens of Montgomery were allowed to go to the courthouse and vote. Here's what they did to keep you from voting. They would give you, you'd go down and ask to register to vote. They would give you the application. Nothing on the front that called for a signature, but on the back of that application, very faint, as though it had been rubbed out, erased, or whatnot, was a little sign that said signature. Nobody at the registrar's office would tell you about that. You had to turn that application over and sign it. And of course I did leave it. I had tried for 2 or 3 times because I'm a veteran of World War II. And in my hometown of Walker County, I had no problem registering to vote because I was a veteran. They asked me if you want to pay poll tax or you want an exemption. That's the exemption. Take this upstairs. That's when I registered my discharge. Because I was on the field of battle when General Patton took over the 3rd Army. I was already on the beach, pinned down with machine gun fire. All right, getting back to the voter registration. When John Doe got through, Judge Johnson ruled that all blacks in the city of Montgomery would be allowed to vote. All you had to do was go down and fill out the application. And of course, that's what I did, and I've been voting ever since. And I don't know whether you are aware of the fact that there, at one time, existed, I guess it's still in the archives someplace, the Alabama Voters Hall of Fame. Anybody familiar with that? The Alabama Voters Hall of Fame. And it was 2 black names on there. That meant at that time that these people had been voting for 40 years or more. My name is one of them. I could go on and tell you much more about the fact that when during the height of the civil rights movement, there existed a committee of 45 in which Solomon Seay was on that committee. And I remember him, Winter Blunt was chairman of that committee. And I remember Solomon Seay getting behind one person. I never thought I would see the day, and he just happened that you and I would be serving on the same committee in the same city here in Montgomery. And I remember that today because it was rather amusing the way he patted this white man on the back who was part of that committee of 45, but Chairman Winter Blunt, before he became a Postmaster General, chaired that committee.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I'd like to thank you for coming out to our program. Dr. Franklin, do you have any last words? Dr. Franklin, you have any last words?
My last words would be thank you, and thank you so much to the panelists. We appreciate your time and your wisdom and for sharing it. You know, someone was saying a few minutes ago, I don't see a lot of young people here, but I want you to know, first of all, it's summer and people are on vacation, but also we are recording this, we're documenting this, and they will hear it over and over, and as researchers come from around the world, we will share this information and these stories. So it will be heard, believe me. Thank you all for being here, and I appreciate your time here with us today. Thank you.